The Syrian dictator is in a critical situation. Putin's buddy Bashar al-Assad's regime is closer to collapse than ever before.
Dear brothers and sisters, we are about to enter. The first groups of Ingramites have entered to cleanse the city.
It is now becoming clear the pro-Turkish rebels will not stop at capturing the major city of Aleppo. The successful advance continues. Following Aleppo, Assad's opponents have taken the city of Hama. Next, in the near future, could be Homs, which is home to about 2.5 million people. But what is most important and interesting is that it is still unclear whether anyone will actually fight for the Syrian usurper.
Will Russia be able to provide Syria with proper military assistance? Let's see.
Meanwhile, the rebels are only strengthening their own military potential. The Kremlin's Lend-Lease, in action. Hundreds of units of Russian equipment, including very expensive ones, have been captured by the Syrians. What are the prospects for Assad's regime, and why might Syria become Putin and Russia's biggest geopolitical failure? More on this later in Arsenal. Aleppo, in 2 days. That's how long it took the Syrian rebels to capture the second largest city in Syria after the capital, Damascus. Bashar al-Assad's regime is falling apart at the seams. Following Aleppo, the city of Hama, the fourth largest in Syria, might fall. For Assad, the situation is complicated by the fact that several different militant groups have now risen against him.
Currently, indeed, all anti-Assad forces have reached a conditional truce among themselves. They have not joined together. They are indeed simply moving in parallel paths in the same direction, capturing territories where they had influence and where they can expect some support.
In the early 2010s, Bashar Assad already faced a similar threat. At that time, during the most difficult moment of confrontation with several militant groups, including the democratic opposition, local Kurds, and ISIS terrorists, Russia, Iran, and Hezbollah came to the dictator's aid. Now, however, Russia is spending all its resources on the war with Ukraine, and Iran and Hezbollah have been weakened by Israel's efforts.
If Moscow hadn't intervened back then, I think the Assad regime would have ceased to exist. The situation was critical at that time. At that specific moment, Assad controlled only approximately 15% of the Syrian territories.
Putin didn't help the Syrian dictator for no reason. For Moscow, the Assad regime is a gateway to the Middle Eastern region. The Russian naval and air bases on Syrian territory have allowed the Kremlin to become an influential geopolitical player.
For Russia, Syria represents geopolitical influence on the continent, influence in the region. That's why it's very important for them to be present there. That's why they spend billions of dollars in order to make absolutely sure their Russian contingent is there.
Currently, Russian strategic military facilities have significantly lost their influence. According to Ukrainian intelligence, the Khmeimim air base has turned into a place for the evacuation of Russians.
There is information that families of diplomats have been evacuated from Damascus and the embassy is functioning in a very limited capacity. I think they were taken to a military base, Kurkosas, and from there, they will be flown to Moscow.
And all Russian ships have been withdrawn from the naval base in Tartus. In the case of the naval base, analysts' opinions differ. Some experts interpret this as a signal that the Kremlin does not believe the Assad regime will survive. Others believe that the ships are being moved out to sea to save them from strikes by Russian long-range weapons, which have been captured in large quantities by the rebels. Government troops are practically offering no resistance to the rebels. In addition to cities, Assad's forces are abandoning depots with weapons and ammunition and equipment.
The Turks have captured the Pantsirem system. General Kaysal, who was the main supplier of heavy equipment and tanks in the Kharkiv region, again showed his generosity, but this time in Syria. And why am I not surprised?
But it's not just about the Panzer. Among the equipment captured by the rebels are some very valuable items: the Uragan MLRS, several Mi-8 combat helicopters, light attack aircraft L-39 with large stocks of aerial bombs for them, as well as hundreds of Russian tanks, including several modern T-90s. According to OSINT analyst calculations, since the beginning of the offensive operation, the rebels have destroyed and captured a total of 389 pieces of equipment. Essentially, within a few days, the Syrian rebels nullified years' worth of Russian investments in Syria. This concerns both financial resources — the Kremlin spent billions of dollars supporting the Assad regime — and human resources.
The best people of the country gave their lives for these lands, and wise leaders will accomplish everything without much resistance in a matter of days.
Russian occupiers perished both in battles with local groups and in conflicts with other geopolitical players. For instance, in February 2018, near the settlement of Kishim, the US Armed Forces launched a massive missile and airstrike on a Russian Assad operational armored group. As a result of the successful operation by the Americans, over 80 Russian Wagner mercenaries were killed and more than 100 were wounded. Besides geopolitical influence, Syria became a sort of military testing ground for Russia, especially for pilots. Most of them, having gained their first combat experience in the Syrian skies, would later fight against Ukraine. Some will die or be captured.
They have greatly discredited themselves by supporting Assad and participating not just in combat operations, but in the genocide of the local population, primarily with the help of aviation. So I doubt that the Russians will be able to find any allies besides Assad.
It was in Syria that the former commander of the Russian occupiers in Ukraine, Surovikin, first gained notoriety. There he was nicknamed the Butcher of Aleppo. It was under his orders that Russian pilots dropped thousands of bombs on the civilian population of Syrian cities.
The grouping of the Russian Federation's military forces on the territory of the Syrian Arab Republic was organized by the group commander, Colonel General Surovikin.
It was in Syria that the bloody Wagner PMC finally took shape. Now it seems that it will also end here. The rebels will soon finish off the remaining Prigozhin's musicians, and it is not excluded that they might topple Assad's regime. This, in turn, will inevitably become the largest geopolitical failure for Putin and the Kremlin in their disgraceful history since the start of the war with Ukraine.
We will never forget the victims and losses suffered in the fight against terror, both here in Syria and in Russia. But this will not make us fold our hands and retreat. This is not in the character of our people at all.
As of today, we currently see Russia retreating. We see them fleeing in a state of utter panic and complete disarray, including those forces trained by Russian specialists. So this is yet another defeat, another slap in the face for the Russian regime.
That's all for now. Don't forget to write in the comments about which types of weapons you would like to learn more about. Like this video and of course subscribe to our new Arsenal channel. The link is in the description below the video.